Hi, I'm Martin Bailey. This is episode 847. Today I'm going to share images from our 2025 Winter Wildlife Tour, during which we visited the snow monkeys, the red-crowned cranes, the whooper swans and the white-tailed eagles and Steller sea eagles, along with a few encounters with the tiny but insanely cute long-tailed tit. Before we start, I wanted to let you know that I found a way to import most of my podcast archive into YouTube, and I've been gradually replacing some of the audio episodes with videos when I had created a video for that episode. I have still to decide what to do about letting people know via the original podcast feed, but I'm pretty sure that I will be going down the YouTube route. So please subscribe to my YouTube channel at mbp.ac/YouTube to ensure that you are notified of new episodes being released. Of course, you can also subscribe to our new podcast notification newsletter, which you can find at mbp.ac/new posts. It seems strange sitting down to share my winter wildlife work now that we're at the start of summer, but things have just been crazy, as I partially explained in my previous update. I'm gradually getting on top of things though, and I will try to produce more regular content moving forward, so please stay tuned. Anyway, let's jump in to Capture One Pro, and I'll share my work, and I have a few recordings of the comments of our guests at the end of the trip and some videos that I want to share with you as well. And remember, if you are interested in joining us in 2026 or beyond, we have our tour. We've got an earlier tour now in 2026 that's going to promise better photography in some ways, less crowds and hungry sea eagles. So you can check that out at our tours page at mbp.ac/tours. Anyway, let's jump into Capture One Pro and see what we got up to. So we have 100 images to look at. It's going to be take a little while to get through these, but I'm going to try not to drag my feet too much on most of what we're going to look at. So we'll go through the trip in the order that I shot the images. And of course, we started with the wonderful, beautiful, adorable snow monkeys. Obviously here, what I'm looking for is tender moments between the adult and the young. This will be about a 1.5-year-old, possibly 8 months or so from last year. And the babies are born in May, around now, and they basically, they have half a year or a little bit more to grow before we go and photograph them in January and February. The pool that they're in is we're about 1.5 to 2 meters from the edge of the pool, and I am shooting these guys with, most of the time, I'm going to show you this. Let's actually turn around. So this is the lens that I'm using. It's the 200 to 800 millimeters from Canon. Not sure if that's the best way to show you this. Might be better just to, here we go. So that's it, full extension at 800 millimeters. That's what it looks like at 200 millimeters. I have enjoyed for the last so many years using the 100 to 500 from Canon, all the mirrorless lenses, RF lenses, but it's a lot of weight to take both, and the 200 to 800 has undeniable versatility, even though it's got a slightly smaller aperture. So I've really enjoyed using that lens during the winter season and last year in Namibia. So again, a tender moment here, and we're looking through. I've cropped this down, cropped the bottom off to get a square image, we were lucky enough to get a day when it actually snowed, and there's far less now than before are we actually getting snow monkeys. We're often just photographing monkeys. So I was really happy that we got snow. And here's a monkey with snow on its fur deciding to do one of those dog shakes and get rid of that snow. And here, the monkeys actually dive into the pools. And I've got one here where the one in the foreground is still got a dome of water over his head. He's just surfacing. And this one in the background came up a moment before. And so it's nice to capture that sort of thing. There's obviously a third monkey here. They just play, they enjoy just having fun with each other. It's almost like me with my best friend when I was a kid, just going out for the day and enjoying life. They run around. This one was probably running to either get food or running away from someone. I don't recall, but I like to capture them running through the snow. Here's another one of a snow monkey pelting down through the snow. This one is, again, usually when they do this, like this, they're running from another snow monkey. And one of my dream shots is to get them bursting through the snow. I've actually seen it once. I turned around, I heard a screech, I turned around, and before I could get my camera to my eye, a snow monkey had burst through the snow, and it was got its red face, and it's embedded up here, but I really would love to get that shot for real on the camera. And again, tender moments, just looking for things like huddles and them being the snow monkeys doing what they do. And there was a number of them that were playing over near the ticket office on the way in, and I had a lot of fun photographing them there as well. So you see the like snow monkey surfing down through the snow, tumbling over each other, and just having again, like I say, they're playing. Here's one where we've probably got one that's just under a year on a 2-year-old's back, just jumping off the snow and having fun. And here again, riding on the back. They're just so adorable and wonderful to spend time around. Look at this. So then we went off to Hokkaido, and we have a Ural owl here that we often find at a place that I know on the first afternoon. And then we went to the red-crowned cranes. And there was very little snow on the ground to begin with on this trip. But as you'll see later, we waited and we went back for an unplanned day when we did get some snow. For the first 2 days, though, we were having fun photographing them, doing what they do. They're beautiful animals. And here we also have, talking of beautiful animals, the little long-tailed tit. These things have become very popular recently. They're tiny. Maybe the body that you'll see there is maybe 6 centimeters, 7 centimeters, maybe 15 centimeters with the tail. But from the side, as you see here, we've got this color. But in the winter time, they develop this beautiful white frontal area and face. And so when you get them from the front, they're just like little balls of fluff and absolutely adorable. The whooper swans often come to the cranes, and this is one of those times when they're just flying overhead. Bit of a blue sky. I rarely photograph blue skies, but most of the time when I do, it's got a large bird in it. And here at the end of the day, I've slowed my shutter speed down, and we are doing some panning shots. And this is one where they're running to take off, and another one a few moments later. And here we have the Ezo squirrel, or Ezo disu in Japanese. The Ezo means Hokkaido. It's the old word for Hokkaido. And so obviously this guy is endemic to Hokkaido. Not a very natural scene. This is the garden of the person who runs the hotel, who's also a professional photographer, and he has his own gallery up there. And this is right next to his gallery, so he gets to sit in his bar that he's created in his gallery and look out at the squirrel eating the pine cone. Wonderful little chap. Got a few photos there. And then we go on. Between the red-crowned cranes and the whooper swans, we visit the Mashu Lake. And this is a stitched panorama from up there. By this point, the team have been working really hard for about a week. And I like to just add a few of these landscape sort of breaks to just give people a chance to catch their breath. Here again is the long-tailed tit up in the tree. And then although we were supposed to be photographing the swans, we noticed that, there was heavy snow forecast. So on the third morning in Hokkaido, we drove back to the cranes instead. And as promised, the snow started to come down, and we got some beautiful shots of the cranes in the snow. It's just so different. But the snow, here's some whooper swans. If you get too many whooper swans in, they go out and try to get rid of them. They use a snowmobile or a car and drive through the swans because they may have avian flu. So we actually saw a swan that had died of avian flu earlier this year. So it's a problem that they have to keep away from the cranes. It's not great that any animal dies from the avian flu, but if the cranes get it, it could be devastating because there's not that many of them in existence. But this made for a good shot as the swans all fled. And this was one of the things that the red-crowned cranes were doing, that because the snow was so heavy, they just sort of hunkered down and started to bear the snow storm. And so it wasn't sort of exciting flying, mating ritual dances and things, but this is what they do, and I love to document that. I like this sort of photograph. And then shortly after this, the snow started to lighten, and then they started to dance around. It was very difficult to get. In fact, I don't think I got any shots of just two dancing together. They were dancing all over the place as groups. In fact, I have a video. Let's go back a few here. So this is, I don't know why Apple Photos darkens this down. It thinks it's it's artificially darkening down the light scene. But this was as they started to get excited. The snow was easing off and they were starting to jump around together. This is in a slightly different enclosure to the one that I was photographing the other images in. This is just to the right of that area. But yeah, they are such beautiful animals. This is a landing, 3 birds coming into land, and that's 2 of them as they went off, after that. More of them getting excited. I normally try to not crop the wings, but here we've got crop wings on both sides, and I think that's kind of balanced. So I've left this one in my selection. And here's 3 just getting together, they're getting excited, starting to dance. And this one was just going crazy with his legs, and this one couldn't get the other bird to dance with him, or her. So it was probably the guy getting excited and the woman saying nah. Then we moved back to the swans. Here's one. The lake was not frozen. That's happening more and more. But it still offers opportunities. We've got these beautiful angel wings on the Hooper swans and some close-ups of them. Just a bit of a catch light there, just really capitalizing on the fact that they're sitting down there in front of us. And after that, we went to Naussu, which is where we photographed the sea eagles. And the sea eagles are obviously not in this shot, but this was a long shot from through the front window of the bus as we drove down towards Naussu at the end of our first afternoon on the Nordske Peninsula, where we often see foxes and deer. And then the next morning, we went out to photograph the sea eagles. This is a white-tailed eagle. It's in silhouette because the sunrise is behind it, lighting up the sea, as you see. And this is a Steller's sea eagle. They're the two breeds that we photograph here. Obviously, backlit splash as he pulls the fish out of the water. And I love this reflection down the bottom here. I'm going to go through a lot of shots here, but this is what we do, especially as we don't get the sea ice all that often now. And I know that some people are saying, one lady emailed me saying that the new January tour is too early because there's no sea ice. It's like, you know what? There's no sea ice many years now. It really doesn't matter, but you'll be fighting crowds by going at the end of February when there's a higher possibility of getting sea ice. In early February, when my second tour now is, there is a chance that we get sea ice. It's not as often. In the first tour, it's almost impossible that we'll get sea ice, but you will be able to get better photos like this. We'll be in less crowded situations, and the eagles will be hungry because they've just flown down from Siberia to get to this place and get some fish handouts in each morning. Here's another one of the white-tailed eagle taking the fish from the water. And at the end of the shoots, we do 3 shoots, 3 early morning shoots when the eagles are the hungriest on any given tour. And at the end of that, we go to the quay wall, and I'm going to show you another video. So this is the quay wall from the other side as we sailed back to in towards the town of Naussu, which we see here. And so we'll just let this run for a moment so that you can see what the situation is. This quay wall here runs all the way along the edge of the harbour at Naussu, and as you'll see when we go around this point, there are a couple of other boats that are already doing the sort of shots that I showed you a moment ago. Here we are. And we just pull up to this wall and photograph the eagles from there. And this is the sort of thing that we'll get. But as you'll see, there's a lot of other opportunities. Over the days, we go 3 times. Look at the number of Steller's sea eagles on that wall. Here's one where a white-tailed eagle had bashed into another to steal his fish. And another scuffle as they tried to do the same thing. And this will be the next morning now. Again, the fish, trying to capture them. I make this look easy because I've been doing it for 20 years or so now. Most of the guests are, on the first morning, struggling to get this sort of shot. It's not easy to get with any decent zoom lens that you're trying to get them not filling the frame. I mean, most guests go pretty wide to begin with. But even still, it's not easy to photograph, to frame, focus, and then release the shutter on a bird as they're coming down like this. So what I normally do is I'll get them I'll get them framed up at around this point and then start to release the shutter. And I love it when we capture them with the talons out like this. And then, there's one in the middle, or a few frames in the middle, where they look like they're standing up in the water, and I don't use those usually. But here we have this, this great splash as they start to fly away with their catch. And again, talons out, and then the catch. And these are all... Actually, let me see. I probably, if I go back here, I can probably go to this image in my photo library. They're in show in the library. And then I can probably show you the whole sequence. Come on. Okay, so the first one's a little bit blurry. It's actually, we are at 800th of a second because it was still quite dark. But then the talons come up and then go out. Here's the catch. There's the one where he looks like he's standing up. There's another one. And then his face is covered there, but the fish is coming out. Wings over the head. And then that's the final one where he's got it. His wings are all in the frame. Then his wings go up out of the frame, so that's obviously not going to work. But that's essentially what I'm grabbing as... See, actually that's not bad. That's probably worth 3 so that I can look at that again. And then I'm, pretty much the same thing. Sometimes I don't get them in framed in time for the talons out, but that's the sort of series that I'm capturing with each pass. Let's go back to... Here we go. So, yeah, there's lots of these. I'm going to go through them relatively quickly, like I said, but I'm going to also show you, I might as well show you this now, because although this is relatively difficult, most people don't get their shots on the first day. The second people start to get into it. And then on the third morning, most people, even if they've had no real luck on the first few days, and I'm relaying advice all the time to make this better. But by the third morning, pretty much everyone walks away with shots that they're very, very happy with. But one of the reasons is there are hundreds of these birds in the area. And let's see, here's a video. Some of the ones in the foreground are seagulls. A lot of these ones here are seagulls. But all of these birds that you can see in... Let's go full screen. All of these birds up in the air, way up here, these are all Steller's sea eagles, with a few white-tailed eagles mixed in. Just zoomed in with my iPhone a little there. So look at the number of these birds. And then, we really then just wait until one of them banks around and goes for the fish. There's a catch. Finally. While we're looking at videos, this was from the morning when there was still heavy cloud, and we've just got the sunrise over the disputed Kuril Islands in the distance there. Beautiful to be out at dawn. I love being out photographing at dawn. Here's a quick video of the top of the quay wall as well. And just running around trying to, these things have a 2.5 meter wingspan. They're amazing birds. Anyway, let's close that down. I'm not going to use it again. So let's get through these last few images. Close up, love doing close-ups of the eagles as they fly overhead. And I don't mind cropping the wings when it's like obviously intentional like this. It's nice also to get the wings in. This is the Ezo deer, or Hokkaido deer, and that's one at full pelt. And again, this was the last morning. This is what happens when they see a fish and they bank around. Let's give it a moment to res in. Here you go. So, yeah, they do this crazy sort of upside down switch back, and then they go for their fish. Being able to fill the frame with an eagle like this is absolutely spectacular and a real treat. Okay, so while Capture One thinks about its navel, let's take a listen to the comments from the group. This is always great to go back and listen to these. So here we go. So here we are once again at the end of the 2025 Winter Wildlife Tour in Japan, Hokkaido and Nagano for the monkeys, and we're going to get a quick comment from each of the guests. So Lloyd.
Hey, I'm Lloyd from Australia. So this was a great trip for me. I really liked the all the different animals, the snow monkeys, the cranes, especially the sea eagles. I liked the accommodation, the food. My favourite one was the snow monkeys one, where we got the whole onsen experience outside in the snow. And big thank you to Yukiko and our drivers, and also to the group. I think we had a really great group on this trip as well too. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Lloyd. Angela?
Hi, I'm Angela from Brisbane, Australia. I really enjoyed making new friends on this trip, and all the wonderful animals that we saw. And I liked, the locations, and the food has been great. So, and I want to especially thank Yukiko for being so supportive and helpful. So,
great stuff.
Thank you.
And once again, Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah from Sydney, and I just wanted to say a big thank you to Martin for keeping us all on schedule and making sure that we were in the right spots at the right time. Thank you to Yukiko for her wonderful organisation, and the bus driver who did an amazing job in the snow. I loved seeing all the animals and the time that we spent with them, which gave me an opportunity to practice my skills and to get the right shots at the right time. So thank you.
You got a few extra additions for your life at list as well, didn't you? So let's see. Here we go.
Hi, I'm Robin from Sydney, and this was my first trip to Japan. I really want to thank Martin and Yukiko and our trusty bus driver, especially for getting us through some hairy mountain passes. This organisation has been seamless, which has been an absolute joy. I enjoyed staying in the traditional ryokans. The seafood buffet was to die for. The variety of wildlife was fabulous on this trip, and new animals that I hadn't seen before. And the sunsets and sunrises were magical against the snow. Thank you, Martin.
Thank you, Robin. Okay, so Donna, would you like to say a few words, please?
Yeah, I'm Donna from Boulder, Colorado, and this trip was a dream fulfilled in getting to Hokkaido for the first time and getting a picture of a sea eagle catching a fish. Thanks, Martin.
You did great.
Hi, this is R.C. Pyle from Boulder, Colorado. The trip was not as cold as expected. Photographic opportunities far exceeded what was expected. Great trip. Thank you, Martin.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Bill from Minnesota. It's been an excellent trip. Martin, Yukiko, and our drivers have made the logistics seamless and easy. I've enjoyed the wonderful wildlife, beautiful landscapes and seascapes, and great food. Again, wonderful trip, highly recommended.
Thank you. Paul, would you like to say a few words?
Yep, okay. Hi, I'm Paul. I'm from Torquay in Victoria, Australia. I've been wanting to do this trip for about 5 years, and I'm so glad that I've been able to make it on this occasion. It's been fantastic from beginning to end. I would highly recommend doing the trip. It met all my expectations, and the organisation, the food, the transportation. It's just been first class, and I'd highly recommend it.
Oh, thank you. Deji.
Oh, me? I gotta say, okay. I'm Deji from Toronto. First of all, thank you, Martin, for letting me come on this trip. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's been fantastic. I must give Yukiko a special shout out. Organization and support has been phenomenal. Seto, you got us here. You'll get us back. And thanks, Martin.
Excellent.
All right.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Marie Tarter from San Diego, California. My husband Steve and our friend Greg and I did a version of this trip in 2018, and it was enough of an introduction that we knew we wanted to come back. But I would say this trip was much better optimized for photography. The organization was seamless. The accommodations and food were outstanding, and overall, I can't really imagine a better organized trip.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Steve?
Hi, I'm Steve from San Diego, California. Sorry for the strong American accent.
I apologize.
This is, as Marie said, our second trip and far exceeded our expectations. Got my wish list of photographs, and the only negative was actually Greg.
Oh, dear. So let's continue with Greg then.
Terrific trip, Martin. I'd like to echo everything save one little bit right there. The food, the safety and getting around, Yukiko, the hotels. I have my bathroom slippers with me. Is that okay? It's a incredible class of people you have, but as we both know, in the future, I think myself, and I can speak for everyone when I say this, we don't want any cracker mother on the trip. Steve?
Please leave that in for the podcast. Yeah, you gotta leave that. You can't edit that out. I'll tell you what, I'll put a beep over the bit after the first part of the F. Okay? That's spoiling the whole film.
G'day, Phil Young from Sydney. This is my second trip with Martin. First one was about 14 years ago down to the Antarctic, and both have been fantastic. Martin's done this trip a few times, quite a few. So he knows every little nook and cranny that we need to go to see all sorts of wildlife. He knows every 7-Eleven to stop at for lunch, and probably every public toilet that we need to stop at. Yeah. So the organisation's been just fantastic. Recommended.
Thank you very much. I should add that we stop at lunch a couple of times at 7-Eleven. It's not every day, as I know some trips do. Would you like to say a few words, Gail, please?
Sure. I'm Gail from Vancouver, and I've loved absolutely everything about this trip. The experience has been phenomenal, and I'm going home with some very special memories.
Oh, thank you. Good stuff.
Hi, I'm Benito from New York. I've been eyeing this trip for a long time, even before the COVID, and finally make it on this trip. Love the experience to be with all the monkeys and eagles around you. And lastly, especially thanks to Yukiko and Saito-san for their help. And thank you, Martin.
Okay, thank you very much. So finally, Yukiko, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, thank you very much. And hello, I'm Yukiko from Yokohama, and I really enjoyed this tour with you, and I really appreciate for all of you. Thank you very much. Arigatou gozaimasu.
Thank you. Okay, so before we turn this off and pull away, a big round of applause both for Yukiko and for Sato-san, our driver. Thank you very much, guys. Arigatou gozaimasu. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so now the image is finally rezzed in. Let's hope that it continues to be the case. But again, beautiful shots of these amazing animals. And thank you, by the way, to the team for those wonderful comments. I just love the Steller seagull. It's probably, you'll notice that although there are more white-tailed eagles, you'll notice that I sort of tend to release the shutter more for the Steller. I just think that they're such an amazing bird. And again, that's a 2.5 meter wingspan. It's just incredible. This is another benefit of getting to the quay wall because, I mean, look at the detail there and the eye. Amazing, amazing birds. And here's a very similar shot of the white-tailed eagle doing the same thing. And another few here on the eagles on the wall. And there's a menacing shot for you. Not sure what he's got. It actually looks like he's picked up a glove or something rather than a fish. So maybe that's the reason behind the menacing look. He's perhaps embarrassed because he just realised that he can't eat neoprene. So, last few here, we're bursting through the snow. And this is at the end of the trip. We do one last wind down. We don't do this from next year. But we have one last chance to do a little bit of landscape before we finish. But that is it. That's our 100 images. So if you are interested in joining a future tour, just go to mbp.ac/tours, and that will take you to our page where I have all of the tours that are currently available to book. And if you click on these, this is the same tour, it's just that there's two on the same page. So if you click on this, you'll be able to go and visit the main tour page. For 2026, you can get to this at mbp.ac/ww for Winter Wildlife, WW 2026. Here are the dates. The first trip will be January 11 to 23. If you think it's too early, don't worry. It's not going to be, and we will beat the crowds and we'll have hungry eagles. The only thing we won't have is probably we won't have any sea ice, but you might not get that on the second trip either. And even if you come in at the end of February and literally battle with crowds and nasty people around, because there's a lot of people who get very, very short-tempered now. Even if you do that, you may still not get the sea ice. So take a chance on the early trip if you want to see what Hokkaido's like for the people that, or you'll see what Hokkaido was like 10, 15 years ago before the crowds really started to come in. But you can see on the page we've got some sample shots, and if you want to book, just go down to the bottom, pay the deposit initially, and then as long as you're still on board, by the time we reach 3 months before the start of the trip, you'll have to pay the balance. Please pay in Japanese yen, and the system, your credit card, will make sure that you get billed in your own currency, but the trip is payable in Japanese yen. So thanks very much for sticking with me today. And like I said, I'm probably going to be continuing doing videos, and I'm hopefully getting them a little bit smoother as we go along. I think I figured out the focusing issues, because if I turn off a certain piece of software for these OBSBot cameras, it somehow seems to lose the instruction to try to focus on my face. So let's hope that this is a bit better, and I will see you again in a week or two when I release another episode. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in a few weeks. Bye-bye.